Welcome to my channel. Sister Wives fans have been following the never-ending Coyote Pass drama for years, and now the saga has taken a turning point. The $1.5 million Coyote Pass estate, which was introduced as the family's dreamland forever, has been sold off in an unexpected transaction that left fans wondering one huge question. How did the wives split it? What actually went on behind the scenes? And who ended up with the largest slice of the pie? This isn't a property story. It's a story about betrayal, justice, and the demise of Kody Brown's dream. Let's rewind to the very start. Coyote Pass was the hub of Kody's master plan. He informed his wives this was going to be the legacy property, the one that would unite the family. But from the very first day, there were cracks. Christine wondered how they could ever possibly afford it. Janelle, practical and dependable, took much of the load on herself, risking her own money just to keep the land up to date. Meri, reluctant but still devoted, contributed in spite of already feeling excluded from Kody's dreams. And then there was Robyn, the preferred wife, whose name was seen where the others were not. Throughout the years, the wives fought over where to construct, what lot would belong to whom, and how in the world they were going to pay to build. Meanwhile, Kody made art pieces of mansions and harmony, while in fact, the bank letters and tax dates continued to accumulate. The family was already thin on funds. Christine ultimately walked away, fed up with promises unfulfilled. Janelle remained in an RV, holding on to the hope of constructing a house on her property. Meri sat patiently in silence, holding her breath for a sign that she still belonged to the family vision. And Robyn, sitting comfortably in her mansion, assured everyone that it would all work out, if only everyone would do as Kody said. It didn't. Instead, what arrived was a financial reckoning. Public documents verify that the Coyote Pass property, which was worth about $1.5 million, was offered for sale. Court filings and behind-the-scenes rumors indicate this wasn't an amicable compromise. It was the sole means of resolving debts and disagreements run amok. Christine, Janelle, and Meri yearned for closure. They yearned for their money back. And Cody and Robyn, who were willing to do whatever it took to maintain power, were in a corner. In court, the breakup of the land was a battleground. Lawyers fought over who paid what, who was entitled to a share, and who had been eliminated from ownership from the beginning. Christine's corner was solid. She had evidence of decades of contributions, including cash she contributed while raising children and maintaining a household under perpetual stress. Janelle's evidence was undeniable. She had paid taxes on Coyote Pass year after year, sometimes alone, while others contributed little. Meri's case was more complicated, but her lawyers showed how her business income had been tapped into family funds that helped maintain the property. And then the bombshell, Robyn's name on critical documents relating to ownership. While the other wives were informed the family couldn't afford to proceed, Robyn and Kody had moved in secret to stand to gain most from the eventual sale. When this evidence finally surfaced, the courtroom exploded. It was the proof fans had long suspected. Robyn wasn't the emotional favorite, she was the financial one as well. The judge decreed that the property would be sold and the money split. Christine and Janelle benefited with large portions, confirming what they had sacrificed. Meri, who was usually forgotten, then earned her reward, one that acknowledged her role in the dream. Cody and Robyn, unfortunately, had their portion marred by the revelation of favoritism and manipulation. They did receive money, yes, but they lost the only thing Kody ever wanted: control. Supporters online rejoiced. Hashtags such as Coyote Pass sale and More Wives Win trended as audiences applauded Christine and Janelle for holding their ground. Meri, also, enjoyed a flood of sympathy, with fans declaring the result a justice long overdue for her years of dedication. Cody and Robyn, on the other hand, were subjected to universal vilification. What was supposed to be a unification dream turned out to be a division, and the family heritage Kody vowed became a financial catastrophe exposed to the world. This $1.5 million settlement isn't just the demise of Coyote Pass, it's the demise of an era. The wives once bound together by religion, family, and sacrifice are now separated by courtroom decisions and legal payouts. Christine and Janelle are away, free from Kody's shadow. Meri is finally independent. And Kody, the self-styled patriarch, is left with a shattered dream and a broken legacy. The real question now is straightforward. Was it justice, or merely the last kick to a doomed family? Whatever the case, one thing is for sure. Coyote Pass will no longer be the utopia that Kody envisioned. It will instead remain a reminder of the deceptions, favoritism, and the collapse of the Brown family dynasty. The Coyote Pass sale did not take place overnight. It was the culmination of years of stress, litigation, and inner conflict that took place both on television and out of view. For a lot of fans, the sale had an inevitability to it, but the circumstances surrounding how it transpired surprised even the most ardent Sister Wives enthusiasts. To really get a sense of how the wives split up the $1.5 million from the sale, we need to assemble not only the financial picture, but also the personal betrayals and sacrifices that brought this to a breaking point. Christine was the first to legally walk away, and her departure altered everything. When she walked out on Kody, she didn't merely leave a marriage, she left the Coyote Pass dream behind. But what viewers on the show did not get to witness was how invested Christine had been in that property. Bank statements and under-oath testimony indicated that she had made several deposits into the family fund specifically for property payments. She thought, at the time, she was saving for her children's future on that property. Instead, she found out later her name was not on the title documents. It was in court that her attorneys emphasized this betrayal, demonstrating that Christine was basically paying for land she was not legally entitled to. This was a foundation of her case, and the judge saw the injustice. Christine's share of the proceeds was restitution for years of give-up and broken promises. Janelle's tale was even more convincing. As the most financially realistic of the wives, she took responsibilities the others would shirk. It was Janelle who spent property taxes year in and year out, sometimes from her own resources when the family coffers were low. It was Janelle who stayed in an RV on the Coyote Pass land, putting up with hardship because she had believed in Kody's dream and wanted to see it succeed. In court, her proof was overwhelming. Tax returns, payment plans, and meticulous records confirmed she had been the pillar of Coyote Pass. Without her, the property would have been lost years ago. The judge rewarded her dedication, and she was awarded the largest personal portion of the sale. Money was not the issue to Janelle. Validation was. For years, she had been belittled, yet she was given recognition for holding the family's dream. Meri had a more passive part, but one that was no less significant. Mostly alone and emotionally excluded, she too had invested in the future of the family. Her bed and breakfast business generated funds that flowed into family coffers that defrayed Coyote Pass-related costs. Still, her name was absent when it came to reviewing the ownership. During court testimony, lawyers for Meri claimed that she had been methodically left out, but that her funds were not. This dichotomy said a lot about how the family money was being handled by Cody and Robyn. The judge sided with her, giving her some of the proceeds. For Meri, it was validation after years of feeling invisible. And then there was Robyn. While the others had theirs hidden, Robyn's name was on the property roll. Robyn and Kody had presented themselves as the legal owners of large tracts of land, whereas the rest were informed that they needed to wait, make sacrifices, or prove themselves. Robyn's rights were secretly safeguarded. In court, the fact came as a shock to Kody's case. It demonstrated favoritism so obvious that even the judge observed, it is remarkably imbalanced. Robyn and Kody did get some of the proceeds of the sale, but at the price of public embarrassment. Rather than being regarded as shrewd planners, they were revealed as manipulators who profited while others bore the cost. The split of the $1.5 million was easy to sort out after the evidence was on full display. Christine, Janelle, and Meri took large checks, as much for the sacrifices they had made for years, and financial contributions they had made as for anything else. Cody and Robyn's portion took a huge hit, and although they still left with cash, they lost something precious: credibility. For years, Kody had asserted that he was guiding the family towards prosperity and unity. However, the court discovered that his leadership was founded on lies, favoritism, and broken vows. The sale was itself symbolic. The property that was meant to bring the family together ultimately tore them apart for good. For Christine, it meant she could set up a new life in Utah out of Kody's shadow. For Janelle, it meant financial security after years of shouldering the responsibilities of the family. For Meri, it meant autonomy and closure. And for Cody and Robyn, it was the end of the fantasy that they could dictate things. Viewers responded with resounding support for the wives. Social media burst with celebrations of Christine and Janelle's wins, and even Meri, usually castigated by viewers, was lauded for standing up at last. Kody and Robyn, however, were roasted on social media. Memes, hashtags, and comments cast them as the bad guys of the saga. The court decision also raised more profound questions. Had Kody really believed in equality? Why weren't all the wives equally listed on the property to begin with? Why was one given legal protection and the other three left exposed? These questions revealed not only financial deception, but emotional exploitation. Kody's patriarchal fantasy was never about oneness. It was about domination. By the time the dust had settled, the $1.5 million sale of Coyote Pass was not just an economic occurrence. It was the death of Kody Brown's reign. The wives no longer obeyed him. His dream had fallen through, and the world finally knew the truth. Coyote Pass, which was once the symbol of hope, had turned into a sign of failure. The Coyote Pass sale was not a business deal. It was the final collapse of the Brown family legend. To viewers, the family had always been a complicated science experiment in polygamy, religion, and survival all under one roof. Kody portrayed himself as the visionary, the leader, the man who could steer 4 wives and almost 24 kids through life's trials. But the sale told the truth. His leadership lacked substance, his vision was broken, and his so-called kingdom was founded on lies. In court, the mood was somber as testimony after testimony deconstructed Kody's story. Testimony was called to prove the wives' efforts, and paper trails told a devastating tale. Christine's attorney produced bank statements indicating how funds from her home family fund flowed straight into family accounts dedicated to the land. She had thought, in good faith and trusting, that those funds were ensuring her children's future. But when the judge requested names on the deed, Christine's was absent. The pain showed on her face, but so did determination. She wasn't merely battling for cash. She was battling for vindication that she had been treated unfairly. Janelle's proof was equally incriminating. She brought with her years of bank slips for tax payments. Each year, she had paid thousands of dollars faithfully to keep the land in good standing, even when the family coffers were empty. One of the displays in court was especially poignant. A picture of her RV parked on the empty land, a testament to the sacrifices she made to preserve Kody's vision. "I believed in him," Janelle's lawyer said. "I believed in the vision he sold us all." But while she was living in a camper, Robyn was living in a mansion. How is that fair? The courtroom murmured, and the judge leaned forward, clearly moved. Meri's case was quieter, but her attorney delivered a cutting blow. Documents showed that revenue from her bed and breakfast had been funneled into family accounts without her name ever being added to property records. Meri Brown was financially included but legally excluded, her lawyer said. The phrase hung in the air and it resonated. Meri, who had been ignored for years on an emotional level, was now shown to have been ignored legally too. For once, her silent agony was visible to everyone, and the court recognized it. Then there was Robyn's side. Her lawyer tried to defend her by saying that she was just doing what Kody told her to do, and that her name on the deeds was a formality. But the papers spoke louder. Robyn's name appeared again and again as a legal owner, while Christine's, Janelle's, and Meri's were missing. The optics were brutal. While the other wives struggled financially and emotionally, Robyn had protections in place. Kody, when asked to explain, deflected with his usual rhetoric about leading the family and protecting the children. But the judge pressed him. Protecting which children, Mr. Brown? Because it appeared only one family was being shielded. The courtroom silence spoke volumes. The court split the $1.5 million sale between the wives based on their contributions. Christine was given a payment that enabled her to buy her dream house in Utah, near her grandchildren and children. Janelle received the biggest portion, an acknowledgement of her years of sacrifice and financial provision. Meri, much to everyone's surprise, won a big sum that not only legitimized her years of service, but also brought her freedom. Cody and Robyn had what was left, but the win was bitter. The court had taken away their moral right. Outside court, the response was explosive. Christine walked out smiling, hand in hand with her lawyer, a photo of victory. Janelle came next, head held high, documents in hand that meant closure after so many years of having been disregarded. Meri, usually the quietest, was visibly moved, having at last been recognized as more than the forgotten wife. Fans chanted from behind cordons, calling out words of encouragement. Flashes went off. This was their time. Within, Cody and Robyn lingered, shying from reporters. Robyn held papers with tears flowing on her face, mascara smudged. Kody's face was a picture of rage, his jaw clenched, cursing in terms of betrayal and injustice. He complained to anyone who would hear him that the wives had plotted against him, that they were rewriting history. The evidence, however, stood. The court had given its verdict. For viewers, this was not about property. It was about justice. Twitter erupted with hashtags such as Coyote Pass Justice, Our Wives Win, and Kody Exposed. Memes were shared of Kody surrounded by an empty lot with the caption, "Welcome to your dream." Christine became an inspiration. Janelle, a rock that held the family together, and Meri, a woman who received her rightful due. Robyn and Kody were both labeled villains, their reputations sullied. What made the moment so symbolic was that it reflected what was supposed to happen, but didn't. Coyote Pass was meant to be the family's promised land, where harmony would prevail against adversity. Instead, it turned out to be the battlefield where favoritism, deceit, and manipulation unfolded. The $1.5 million sale wasn't merely financial closure, it was the interment of Kody's dream. The sale of Coyote Pass, priced at $1.5 million, did not simply redistribute funds, it rewrote the Brown family legacy forever. For more than a decade, viewers had been led to believe that this land was the dream come true. 4 wives, 1 father, and a sprawling compound where each of the families could construct their own homes. Kody marketed it as the family's forever project, the home that would bring them together after years of turmoil. But in real life, it was the arena of betrayal, favoritism, and the breakdown of trust. Testimony in court went back years to secret financial machinations. Christine's attorneys introduced stunning evidence of her own direct contributions lost to accounts she never owned. While Christine thought that she was paying for her family's share in the building, she discovered later that money had been diverted. This was more than mismanagement, it was manipulation. Christine's heartache in court was undeniable, but so was her resilience. Her compensation wasn't all about money, it was acknowledgement of every dollar and every concession she sacrificed. Janelle's testimony was a knockout to Kody's defense. Fans for years witnessed her live in that trailer on dusty Coyote Pass property, holding on to the hope she'd someday construct her dream house. In court, she presented tax receipts that had kept the property afloat when others retreated. Her proof indicated she had shouldered the family dream burden by herself, as Kody made big plans that were never fulfilled. Janelle's award was the highest, and it wasn't a charity donation. It was justice. The judge called her contributions indispensable, a word that cut right through Kody's image of himself as the family leader. Meri's moment in court was quieter but deeply impactful. For years, she'd been the sidelined wife, the one left out of emotional conversations and major decisions. But accounting records demonstrated that her money went into the family coffers, helping to pay Coyote Pass bills indirectly, even when she did not have a legal interest in it. Her attorney contended, Meri Brown gave without being given. She was faithful, but she was shut out. The judge concurred, awarding her back pay that finally recognized her faithfulness and work. For Meri, the payout was not just about money, it was validation after years of invisibility. Robyn, on the other hand, was the lightning rod in this courtroom battle. Her name appeared on ownership documents, while Christine, Janelle, and Meri's names were missing. To the court, this was proof of favoritism. For fans, it was proof of what they had suspected all along. Robyn was always the legal wife, while others were left vulnerable. Robyn's attorney tried to say she was merely doing what Kody directed, but the judge wasn't fooled. While Robyn and Kody still benefited from part of the sale, their reputation was ruined. Kody's courtroom performance was as dramatic as fans had anticipated. He ranted about betrayal, blamed the wives for conspiring against him, and attempted to position himself as the victim. But the judge wasn't impressed. When questioned about why Robyn's name appeared on the deeds but not the others, Kody bungled it. His attempts to justify it as protecting the family fell apart under questioning. In one memorable exchange, the judge declared, "Mr. Brown, leadership is about fairness." This court has no fairness here. The words stunned Kody, and the courtroom was filled with murmurs. When the ruling was read, the mood changed. Christine, Janelle, and Meri stood as one, their faces a mixture of relief and victory. Kody slouched in his chair, jaw clenched, eyes on the floor. Robyn held papers, her tears smudging her makeup, whispering that she never wanted things to end this way. But the reality was inescapable. Land that Kody had promised would bring the family together had been sold off and split, not by free will, but court decree. The symbolism was strong. For Christine, the settlement enabled her to purchase a home in Utah, near her grandchildren and children. For Janelle, it guaranteed her freedom after all the sacrifice. For Meri, it was the first time she'd been rewarded monetarily after decades of emotional abandonment. And for Cody and Robyn, it was the destruction of the fantasy. They walked out of the courthouse with cash but without integrity, their reputation broken before the world. Outside the court, there were cameras everywhere. Christine smiled widely, telling the cameras, "This is closure. This is justice." Janelle nodded, saying, "I can finally move forward." Meri was tearful but dignified, saying gently, "I just wanted to be seen, and today, I was." Their comments were heard throughout social media, producing waves of support from fans who had long been supporters of the wives. In the meantime, Cody and Robyn skirted the cameras. They were ushered into an awaiting car, Cody's face a mask, Robyn hiding behind documents. Online fans were quick to comment on the difference. 3 wives standing tall and victorious, Cody and Robyn sneaking away with their tails between their legs. The $1.5 million sale of Coyote Pass was more than a trial tale. It was a sister wives cultural moment. What had been spun on TV as one giant vision of togetherness became one of the largest reality family scams in history. And as dust settled from the verdict, each of the wives' tales gained new significance, recasting viewers' perceptions of them and of themselves. Christine, for instance, was emotionally over Cody long before the court case ever came along. Fans saw her break up with him and move on to Utah, but what they didn't see was the financial worry she held in her heart. Each dollar she had spent on Coyote Pass was money she felt would guarantee her future. For years, she thought she was creating something lasting. But the records showed that she had essentially been paying for a house she never legally owned. This was a deep betrayal, but Christine's settlement provided her with the freedom she deserved. She is said to have used half of the money to buy a stunning Utah home that represented independence and security. To Christine, the sale was not mere closure, it was poetic justice. She dedicated all to the family aspiration, and she was rewarded for it in the end. Janelle's fate resonated with fans most. Janelle was called the practical wife. She was always the one taking care of the mundane things of money and assets. She had been the one at the kitchen table, tallying figures, trying to make Cody's aspirations succeed. While everyone else gave up hope, she parked an RV on the property and literally staked herself to the land she had insisted on making home. That act of sacrifice was one of the most symbolic moments of the whole ordeal. In court, her several years of tax forms and financial records showed clearly Janelle had carried Coyote Pass. The judge saw this and gave her the biggest portion of the sale. To the fans, it was a moment of vindication. The woman who had done the most was finally paid what she deserved. Janelle herself is quoted as saying, "I can breathe now. I don't have to wonder anymore." Meri's journey was the most surprising. For years, audiences watched her be the wife on the side, always waiting in the background for Cody's validation. Her own work had been invisible to her, and she herself had said she was forgotten. But the courtroom told a different tale. Bank records confirmed that her business revenue had been utilized for family responsibilities related to Coyote Pass. But her name did not appear in the property records, as did Christine's and Janelle's. That disclosure resonated with fans who defended her on the internet. In court, Meri's lawyer described her as the wife who was loyal to a fault, a phrase that seemed to capture her entire sister wives' journey. The payout she received was more than money, it was validation. For the first time in years, Meri wasn't overlooked. She was recognized as a vital part of the family's financial history, and that recognition was priceless. Robyn's position, however, was impossible to defend. The papers with her name on the deeds destroyed the innocence claims she had. Although she and Cody attempted to make the argument that it was technical, the perception was disastrous. In the eyes of the judge, the wives, and the public, it appeared as though Robyn had been shielded while everyone else bore the brunt. Her crying in court could not undermine the fact that she was the legal beneficiary of Cody's indulgence. And although she took a cut of the sale, her reputation was destroyed. Fans inundated social media with posts labeling her the Queen of Fraud and accusing her of manipulating Cody to secure her own future at the expense of the other wives. Whatever the truth of that, perception was strong, and in the court of public opinion, Robyn lost everything. The biggest loser of all, however, was Cody. His patriarchal dream of establishing a kingdom on Coyote Pass had collapsed in a humiliating court loss. For years, he had preached vision, leadership, and unity. But the evidence produced at trial established that he had wasted the family fortune, favored one wife over the others, and deceived the very women who had trusted him most. The judge's statement, "This court sees no fairness here," resounded not only throughout the courtroom but throughout the fan base. It was the final condemnation of Kody Brown as a patriarch. His respect was lost, his credibility shattered, and his family irreparably damaged. The $1.5 million was divvied up in no uncertain terms. Christine, Janelle, and Meri were vindicated in monetary form, while Cody and Robyn slunk away with their tails between their legs. But more than the figures, the sale held emotional significance. It marked the end of something, the last nail in the coffin of Kody's family ideal. Land that was meant to represent togetherness became the ultimate representation of disunity. On the internet, the response was beyond measure. Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit were flooded with tributes to the wives and mocking of Cody and Robyn. Overnight, memes appeared featuring Kody sitting on empty lots with slogans such as "Coyote Pass now for sale on Craigslist." Christine was hailed as a legend, Janelle as the unheralded heroine, and Meri as the quiet warrior who got hers. Cody and Robyn were roasted as masterminds of their own demise. This moment was larger than reality TV for many viewers. It was about justice, equality, and the victories of women who had long been silenced. Christine, Janelle, and Meri became beacons of strength, and Cody and Robyn became cautionary figures of greed and bias. The Coyote Pass sale not only revealed financial dishonesty, but also revealed the emotional price that was paid over the years within the Brown family. Each wife had a personal tale of sacrifice, trust, and betrayal, and the courtroom was the only place where all those secrets finally emerged. It was no longer a matter of who loved Kody more, who obeyed the rules, or who was in his good books. It was a matter of hard facts, dollar trails, and ownership documents. And those papers spoke a very different message from the one Kody had been preaching for more than 10 years. The sale brought an end to the biggest heartache of Christine's marriage. When she initially invested in the land, she thought she was laying roots for her children. She saw a house on the property where her children would be raised with family, cousins, and togetherness. But what she got was the knowledge that her trust had been misplaced. She was informed that she did not have enough money, that her dreams would have to wait, while Robyn was indulging in luxuries that Christine could not. The court decision provided Christine with something she had not known in years: validation. For every dollar she had invested, every tear she had cried over the empty promises, she was finally validated. Her award was greater than reparation. It was a statement that she had been justified in walking away and that her sacrifices weren't for nothing. Janelle's experience was unique because she had defined the essence of Kody's so-called dream. She wasn't merely discussing construction on Coyote Pass, she was doing it. Living in an RV wasn't glamorous, but she did it because she thought the sacrifice was going to pay off in a permanent residence. The irony was cold-blooded. As Janelle occupied cramped living spaces on the empty land, Cody and Robyn enjoyed comfort in their spacious house, insisting the family could not afford to proceed with building. Janelle's proof in court was impossible to refute. Her payments, her tax documents, and even her RV existence all confirmed she invested more than anyone. Her payout was not only the largest, but also the most deserved. Fans celebrated her as the true backbone of the Coyote Pass dream, the woman who kept it alive when everyone else had given up. Meri's story came as a shock to many fans because it revealed just how deeply she had been sidelined. For years, her emotional battles with Kody were out front, but her contributions financially were less apparent. In court, when the word got out that her business earnings had been quietly going toward keeping the family books in balance, jaws dropped. She was constantly being told that she wasn't included in the vision, yet her money was. Her attorney's phrase, "financially included but legally excluded," rang out like a bell through the courtroom. The judge's ruling to give her a significant portion of the proceeds from the sale was vindication for all those years of invisibility. For Meri, the decision was about more than money. It was recognition that she counted. And then there was Robyn. The court documents substantiated what fans had been suspicious of for years. Her name was tied up in property titles and the other wives were excluded. Legal favoritism to the court. Betrayal to fans. Robyn cried throughout the proceedings, maintaining she didn't want to be at fault, but the perception couldn't be reversed. She was the one with the legal umbrella when others were scrambling, and Kody's excuses tanked. Kody had defended only one wife instead of all of them, and now the world could see. Robyn's portion of the sale may have brought money, but at the expense of her reputation, which was torn apart beyond recognition. Kody's response during the trial was one of denials. He complained of betrayal, blamed the wives for conspiring against him, and asserted that the whole process was a smear campaign. But as more evidence mounted, even his strongest defenders had to accept reality. The judge's statement, "This court sees no fairness here," punctured his bluff and peeled away the persona that he had fought so hard to preserve. Kody, the erstwhile self-anointed head of his household, was left a man revealed as manipulative, irresponsible, and profoundly unfair. Splitting the $1.5 million had far-reaching effects that extended far past dollars. Christine's award provided her with the economic freedom to create an improved life. Janelle's enabled her to break out of survival mode and start organizing for her future free from Kody's interference. Meri's gave her validation and independence she had long been denied. Cody and Robyn walked away with their portion, but it was overshadowed by humiliation. They weren't seen as victors, they were seen as villains. The sale also had ripple effects across the entire Sister Wives fanbase. Viewers who had invested over a decade watching the Browns felt like they were finally seeing justice play out in real time. Social media erupted in support posts for the victory of the wives. Christine gained her freedom. Janelle gained her justice. Meri gained her recognition. Kody lost his crown, read one of the trending tweets. Hashtags such as Coyote Pass fraud and bright justice for the wives were trending, making the court case become a cultural phenomenon. The photograph couldn't have been more vivid. 3 women exiting the courthouse, documents in hand, free at last from Kody's shadow. Kody and Robyn staying back, heads lowered, shying away from cameras. It was such a reversal of power, it was almost as though it had been scripted, except that it wasn't. It was real life. The dust of the $1.5 million Coyote Pass sale may have settled in the courtroom, but in actuality, it has only clouded even more questions, tension, and speculation than ever before. The fans might believe this is where the story ends, but those who know the Browns know one thing. Nothing is ever truly over when Kody Brown is around. Christine's settlement bought her freedom, and she didn't waste time getting on with her life. She's in Utah, surrounded by grandkids and kids, and at last enjoying the tranquility she was denied for years. But even as she basks in triumph, rumors from insiders indicate she's ready to come forward with her own detailed disclosure of the family's accounting manipulation. Would Christine's tale reach past the courtroom and into a tell-all about Kody and Robyn even more? Janelle, the family's financial rock, now has the money to make her own way. But her win hasn't muffled the outrage that fans feel for her. Fans are demanding that she use her platform to teach women about money independence after abusive relationships. Rumors swirl that she's in talks with publishers, possibly preparing a book deal of her own. Imagine the impact if Janelle, the wife who sacrificed the most, finally tells her side of the story in her own words. Meri's win has shocked everyone. For the first time in years, she has both the money and the recognition she's long deserved. Fans wonder if she'll leave the Sister Wives world behind altogether, concentrating on her businesses and developing a brand for herself. Others think Meri has one more tale to share, how years of emotional deprivation and financial isolation defined her life. An open interview, a book, or even a string of media appearances might be enough to change everything. And then there are Kody and Robyn. They left the courtroom with cash in their pockets, but their reputations in shreds. Kody's rule has been deconstructed, his leadership image destroyed. Robyn's tears, previously a means of pity, have been transformed into evidence of wrongdoing in the eyes of fans. But sources close to the couple say they're not yet prepared to call it quits. Kody has allegedly made pitches to networks with fresh concepts, spin-offs based on his rebuilding, his return, his so-called new vision. But following the courtroom disclosures, would some network take that risk? Or will Kody forever be best known as the man who sold his wives a false dream? And that's where the cliffhanger comes in. Papers related to the Coyote Pass case, some of which were not investigated thoroughly at the trial, are said to hold even more incriminating evidence. Sources mutter about secret accounts, mysterious transfers, and bargains that never found their way into the courtroom but still linger in the paper trail. Might these records initiate fresh legal fireworks? Might Kody and Robyn suffer even greater consequences than losing reputation? The wives might have left with their cut, but the public is wondering, is this merely the first chapter in a greater accounting? Was Coyote Pass's sale merely the tip of the iceberg in revealing all that Cody and Robyn sought to conceal?